Oh, it's nice and cold. Oh, damn, it's the 30th. Anyways, is Jason Whitlock woker than some of you pro blackity blacks? Let's talk about it. But Google it. But there's this idea, or there's a deep dive that some of the people I think that we call coons and whatnot, nonetheless, if you do some coon shit, whatever. But I think that's a cop out and an oversimplification. However, some of these people do tap dancing and doing a little too much. And on TV, Jason probably did do that. But when you have a substantive conversation with some of these people and you hear what they believe, what they're fighting for, a lot of times they make sense. Google it though, but like check out like Clarence Thomas. He's one of them because I just seen a picture of this week all skin folks and kin folks, and had Clarence Thomas, Kanye, had the dude from Kentucky who was over the case of Breonna Taylor in the grand jury. But the case was being made that people like Clarence Thomas and all that, pro blackity blacks, they were militant and had those strong views growing up in college. And deep dive. Obviously, you gotta do your research. I'm not saying what it is. And Yvette Cornell has even talked about this with somebody in a negative way, but she pointed out how like Clarence Thomas was poor and he was a bumpkin. And he went to these black schools and the black elite and the bourgeoisie didn't really want him there because he was not of their class, and they shitted on him. And there's this a really strong viewpoint of how a lot of the black elites push poor blacks out, and then they get their revenge later on. But basically it's like this. Do you think that Malcolm X, if he was a Supreme Court justice, would he rule in a way that would make black people more economically dependent upon white people, more dependent upon the state? That's just a simple question. Do you think he would rule in a way that would make us more, with all the separatism he's talked and all the this owning your own, working for other people is not the thing. Having your own thing is the thing. Having them teach your children in their schools is not a thing. Being able to educate you. So I'm saying, if he were to rule, if he was a Supreme Court justice, do you think he would rule like everybody wants this black liberal female justice? Do you think he would rule like her, or more like Clarence? Now, that's just a deep dive. But anyways, let's talk about that in a different video. But I'm gonna play a clip at the end of what I'm about to say next of this dude, Jason Whitlock. He's dropping some gems. He's talking about the black accuracy, as we would call it now. We know it's not a true matriarchy, but for common sense, let's just keep calling it matriarchy. He's breaking down the female worship in the black community, and it was just weird to me. And I'm just thinking about, because I'm just listening to content, most of which I don't agree with, and I'm hearing the same pattern of what he was saying. But we're gonna check out what he had to say about the female worship in the black community. To summarize what happened, Jason Whitlock critiqued. I don't know. I didn't know she was white. One of the women were white. Another one was black. Sports writer. He pointed out some things about her. And Benjamin Watt, a football player, he's been on Fox News. He's like the pro traditional family type of dude, but he, pro Black Lives Matter too. And Jason Whitlock, he was one of the few black men, right? So now that other countries have decided to part ways with BLM. Because they realize that Marxist bullshit is real when they come from these European countries where they know what that really means. So they've separated themselves, and now you see Black Lives Matter have scrubbed their website and got rid of some things. And Jason Whitlock talked about this, but he talked about it in context too with Benjamin Watson, who went on Twitter and came at him because he critiqued a female sports writer or whatever, and he basically said her stop doing the woke stuff because you're going to end up like Jamel Hill or these other writers who lose their job, lose their opportunities because you on this bandwagon. And one of the women were white. I know she was. But anyways, in the process of that, he breaks down why, he thinks that Benjamin felt the need to come at him because of his critique of her, which were valid critiques. Like, you got to chill. Whatever. And in the process, he was breaking down like the gynocracy in the black community and how black families are and how black men are. And it had me thinking because I was like, I'm listening to Karen Hunter, right? Sirius XM, she's on YouTube, whatever. I'm not a Democrat, but she's a Democrat. She wants to act like she's different than mainstream media, but she does the same tactics and tools, whatever, to get content. She does radio, so she's, she acts like she wants to have a civil adult discussion, but she doesn't. She trolls like everybody else. She just has her own version of doing that. But I'm listening to her, and of course, because Ice Cube came out and he was talking about the plan for Black America and all this other stuff. I will say that when he was on Rolling, Ice Cube, he did sound like he was a deer caught in the headlights. He wasn't really articulate on what his points was. I wish he would have been more prepared to go on there. But because Rolling and his little crew, they had their little field day with that. But they, of course, a black man, standing up saying like, we're not just gonna give you our vote, blah blah blah. That's hurting them votes. They promised to deliver these you Negroes to the Democratic Party, the creepy Uncle Joe. And he was all like, no, we want something for our vote. And of course, everybody questions the timing. We all question well, not really, because no one had a problem on the left with Cardi B doing interviews or whatever with Joe Biden. But, people do question all the celebrities all of a sudden get in. Killer Mike got the same treatment. As you saw a couple weeks ago, he got, killed because he met with the governor of Georgia. Which, if you're a black man and you're in a city and your city's getting messed with and there's things going on and you're a figure and a voice for the black community, why would you not? Right? Shouldn't you be Switzerland? No friends, no enemies, just interests? But we don't comprehend that. But I'm saying you do have situations where black men have done that. You see, and the entire media comes against black men who do that. The entire media wants to, get smear campaigns against them or act like they dumb and don't know what they're talking about. All types of things, because just the idea of not voting Republican, it's not even it. It's just the idea of coming across the aisle and seeing who has an option, who has tangibles on us on both sides. What can we get from you? What can we get from them? And black people don't like that, period, right? So Karen Hunter goes on her rant and she goes, well, why didn't he have Julia Malveaux, right? She's an economist, a black one, a lesbian. I thought she was, but I don't know. She's a feminist, one of those get rid of the patriarchy type chicks, right? Overly liberal, always on Roland Martin, annoying as fuck. Nonetheless, she is an economist and she's probably good at what she does and she's very educated at that. But my problem was like, well, Ice Cube brought a black man who was an economist. Why did you feel the need to say, bring Julia Malveaux? And I noticed that often whenever black men come to a table, come to a spot, it's like, where did you bring the black woman? Or where's the black woman's opinion? Even Boyce is the king of doing that. Moise Watkins, he's the king of doing that. And I'm just like, and I get his whole stick, working with women and easy to manipulate and whatever, control and whatnot. Obviously, men ain't gonna go for a lot of those games. That's that. But I'm saying, like, I think that's just ingrained in us, though. Like, I'm listening to Maj Ray. He was on Tim Pool podcast, and he's talking about the founding fathers. He's like, yeah, they were hypocrites because where were the women? And I was thinking, like, damn, we really don't think. Like, there was this chick that did a video with Sarge years ago and saying that the black man can't do nothing without the black woman or whatever, some stupid shit like that. And I'm saying, like, it does appear to be that way. Not saying that we don't think we can. It's just that they think that they're entitled to come to every table that black men are at. And I'm thinking, like, if y'all talking about hypergamy this and hypergamy that and men being the head and this and that, do y'all realize that y'all can't come to every party if that's the case? Like, for years, you listen to people on YouTube who talk about being the head of the woman and not dating down and this and that. And I'm just like, y'all don't go far enough, because unless women step back, that's not going to happen, right? I use this analogy all the time because it's like, yo, like when I was a kid, I used to go to Home Depot and you will see nothing but, like, you might see the black dudes outside that's doing it part-time, doing the flowers and stuff like that, the landscaping stuff. But you go in there and it's usually all white men. That was like their second job or whatever. Of course, the economy has changed. Things are different. People living longer, whatever. But you go in there now, and there's a bunch of white women in there. And I'm just like, and it's not just one. I go to one on different sides of town, whatever. It's like, all these women are taking these jobs that the old white dudes used to take for their second job, or even old black dudes. That was like that quick 4-hour job that you would have after you're off your 9 to 5. So women have invaded that space. Women are 51% of the workforce. Like, they're here now. That toothpaste ain't going back in the tube. But I'm saying, like, I don't understand how people who even preach hypergamy and men being the head and this and that, they don't also say that women do have to fall back. Now, a lot of these men who do that, and some of them have been called out, like Sarge has been told, you don't want to stay home wife, which I'm like, okay, I get it. But women can't keep being in the spaces that men are, and you expecting more men to get there. Like, those are spaces that men should be in. It ain't about competing. It's about you. If you comprehend that women are, utilized more in corporate America, men are viewed as a threat, and then there's also the aspect of the state helping them where they won't help men in the same light. It would make sense for you to not to be some this pro women got to come too. Now again, if you believe in the traditional value stuff and you want that segment, you can't have it both ways. You can't try to blend different eras together. Like, that's if you want that. That's what I'm saying. But I don't think we really want that. I think we're just egalitarian as a group of men. So I said it on one of Obsidian's videos a while back. I'm like, yo, that's the future of the economy. That's the future of America. They're trying to do this, repeat some white boy shit that only works as long as white boys continue to do it. When they change their mind and stop, it don't work no more. But I'm like, y'all trying to make these arguments that egalitarianism is broken dusty. And I'm like, that's the future. That's our economy. Women are fighting in wars. They're going to the military. They're running in offices. Like, they're your bosses, right? The one thing that happened with the banking system is how women used to be locked out. But so many women were in the banking industry that eventually when all the men got promoted, the women could take their positions. And now you go into banking, women run and rule in that system. It's a bunch of young dudes working at the counter now, and their bosses are female. That's a way that they ended up. So the sexism, or if you would call it that, end up going against them because they end up being in all the positions. And when it was time for promotion, they had the skills and the training to get there. But this is my point. I don't understand how we don't comprehend that women can't come everywhere. If you want black men to be strong leaders and this and that, you gotta let them do their thing. Not let as in we're stopping them, but I'm saying if a black man is qualified, he can do the job. You don't need to say, well, what about this female who does the same thing? If the man is already there. Again, if y'all kicking it, sorry, so y'all doing everything good and y'all better than everybody else, then why not let him have the opportunity? Why do black men have to bring a woman in that same field and position? If you think that black men need to do better and do more, then you would be promoting the black economist, the black banker, the black this, the black, all those things as male. That's what you would want. But no, we have this weird female worship situation going on. We remember what happened with the letter that, the 1,000 black men wrote to say, even though My Brother's Keeper was not, it wasn't policy, it was charity, it was some corporation bullshit. But nonetheless, it was directed at black boys, and then Obama worded it out even more and included, brown people too. And what happened with that? Even though there's already a council for women and girls, the black men said, no, we want the black women to get access to this piece of shit, not real policy. That's just charity. And okay, I'm like, oh, damn, we can't have shit, right? Because even the own men cock blocking against us, right? The educated brothers, the educated lames, they wrote the letters first. Then Rosario Dawson and a bunch of liberals got on board and made it something different. They co-opted, and then the brothers that did it first didn't even get credit for it. See what I'm saying? It's like, you have to want men to win. You have to be focused on helping men do better and be better for their families if you want the community to get better. This idea of, or again, I'm not saying you have to do that if you're not going to be egalitarian. So if we're egalitarian, just call it what it is and let's be that. But don't every time you see a brother doing something and achieving something or in a space, the first thing you say is, well, what about the women? Or in a space that you might lack in. You don't go to spaces that you dominate and say, where the brothers at? You don't do that. In fact, the argument is that it's sisters help, as Mr. Researcher always points out, they're quicker to help each other. And if you look at the men like Boyce and all these other dudes that do worship females, they're more likely to put a female on. See what I'm saying? It's like, I don't understand how we don't get it. I'm just listening to all this content, and I'm just like, even Boyce did it recently, because, and I get it, it's just part of his brand, it's part of his bag, Maurice Watkins, right? He puts his cape on. I get it. Women probably support his channel, just like Umar Johnson and he wants your grit money. He's telling us to give him his grit money. I'm surprised he asked for the weave money. But he just did the same thing. He's like, well, let's hear from the female lawyers in the Breonna Taylor case. I'm like, doesn't matter if as long as you got a law degree and you know how to interpret the law the way it's written. Like, do we really need to have that in the black community? Like, again, our community is very matriarchal. The black men are more egalitarian. And then we're just all screwed up. Pick one. Pick a lane. Pick one. Because this shit confusing. You have to have men lead and be in the head. And not always want to include women in everything that they do if you want men to be in the head and be the lead and be in positions. I just was seeing Mr. Beta Melcoon See, Cindy G. She had said something in Obsidian played about, the black women make this. She was a bunch of stuff that's easily refuted and not proved, not true. But something she said too about the 19 people that bought 19 families did that. But I guess someone said it was spearheaded by a black woman, right? And I'm thinking to myself, okay, that could be true. I don't know. I didn't read the article, whatever. I did see the story, whatever. But like, how do you know the black men didn't go out and make the money and let their wives go do that and let that be their project? Like, the women, they just take the service of something, don't even do the research or deep dive into anything, and they just make it a thing, right? So it's hard. It's why it's hard to debate them or even take them serious in conversations. But I'm just saying, as Pink Elephant said, we overcredit women. We will give a woman who didn't even want her son to play sports, didn't go to none of the games, but dad was out there like Tiger Woods' daddy and Serena Williams' dad, just busting their ass, grinding them to the point where you see the videos of the dad that's got his son like 8 years old, lifting weights, doing all kinds. They talking about child abuse, let him be a kid. These dads out here doing that, but then when the red carpet come, or when they accepting their awards, or when they getting inducted into the Hall of Fame, or even getting drafted, is the mom usually in the camera. Dad did all the work, but don't get any credit. So I'm saying we do that often too. We overcredit women even when they don't really even do anything. Just, it's like women talk about, pleasing male egos and making them feel good about their inadequacies, whatever. We do that shit for y'all a lot too. We give y'all credit for shit y'all ain't even do or ain't even part of, just to make y'all feel involved. But I'm going on long here. But that was the point of my I wanted to give that aspect before I drop what Jason Whitlock had to say about the gynocracy and all the black community and how we have too much of that going on. And he even said in his video, it doesn't have to be only male leadership or whatever, and he even acknowledged that some of this could be our fault because of our abandonment and whatnot. But I'm still sticking with the premise. It's like, I don't have to be involved in everything that black men do. And if a black man is qualified and knows what he's doing, why do you feel a need to want to interject the other gender? Like, what is that about? If a woman was coming out first and she had the statistics and the data and the facts and she was breaking shit down, I would say, well, where's the black man at? Why can't we have his POV or whatever? I might do a separate video about it, but my man Jackson, shout out to him. Somebody asked me a comment to put some of his other clips in one of my videos. But he had posted something about, what Kamala Harris and Joe Biden did. Black women deserve better. And he correctly pointed out that was some bullshit and it was a double entendre, right? It had another meaning behind it. This Indian woman with the white husband talking about black women deserve better. Those was bars, right? And he felt the way about it. And he did that, and then he ended up getting killed for 2 days on social media and on his show because it turned into misogyny, or you threaten a woman's choice. And it's like all these black men with non-black wives do something, y'all all in y'all feelings and y'all point that out quick. But when a man does it, oh, he hating, right? And one could argue that hypocrisy is on both sides, but nonetheless, we acknowledge, like, yo, this dude just gave $40 million to black men. We gonna accept that bread, right? Which reminds me of another video I had to do about O'Shea and Obsidian and their video and their view on Candace Owens being able to speak in the community. And I have a disagreement with that. I'll talk about that in a different video. But he got killed for that. Like, his male honesty became misogyny. So him giving his opinion and view on what that campaign ad or that meme that Kamala Harris and Biden put out, as in regards to Breonna Taylor talking about black women deserve better, his male honesty returned to misogyny. And as often I notice this happens, his next 2 days on his show was about what can we do to make black women feel protected and feel better. I'm like, wait a minute, you was telling how you felt the way that this biracial woman who's using blackness because it's politically convenient for her and her white husband is putting out this double entendre, messaging that the swirlers will love. And damn well black women, when they call it out just as quick when it's the other way around. But because the message was pandering to black women didn't have an issue with it. They accepted it. But his male honesty became misogyny. And he literally had it. And then the next day it was like, yo, what can we do to make black women feel better? And how can you feel protected? I'm like, wait a minute. What happened to how he felt about the post and what that, you know what I mean? Same thing happened. I remember when Boyce Watkins did this over, and I think it was a Nate Parker situation, how he got acquitted. A nigga get acquitted 20 years later. He has to act like he did it, right? Nate Parker got acquitted, and he was getting all the smoke. And Boyce was like, ironically on the side of men. And he wanted to start his little thing. I think Andre Hatchett was supposed to run it. But I'm like, cool, I can support this, even though I know it's Dr. Moise Watkins and I know how he get down. But I'm like, yo, you talking this stuff? I can support that. I can donate to that. I can chime in. I can support that channel, whatever. And then you get there and it's the same thing. What can we do to make black women feel better? I'm like, what the fuck? I thought this shit was about, black men protecting black men and looking out for black men, helping each other and building each other up. And you get there, the first conversation y'all having is what we can do for women. Again, don't have an issue with that, but the context of that situation was misleading. And again, it just happens often. I don't know why we can't do that. Do we have too much female worship in our community? Like, for men to do what needs to be done, you really have to just do it and not give a shit about what women say. And you have to be unapologetically male and just do that shit. And I've said before, like, I know sometimes that as men, the things that we do trying to figure it out and navigate in this world, it might not be a benefit to women. I get that totally. It might not be a benefit for the collective. It might be for his own individual family or whatever, or the woman he's dealing with, but it might not be a benefit to them in its totality. And that's what it is. That's not a bad thing. I can acknowledge that. But I think women need to comprehend, and men apparently, that you don't always have to include a woman in everything. Right? It's like almost a bag now, and you feel compelled now to do it. If you start a podcast or start a network, you got to make sure you go out. Again, business-wise, I understand that. Because, this is their arena. They're a cash cow. The fitness industry may be promoted by men, but it's 90-something% women because they will give their money for you to teach them to do the same shit over and over again. Men, not so much. You teach us how to do it once, we done. We out. I can do it myself. I get the business aspect of it. But we got to do deeper than that. We got to do better than that. And we got to fall back a little bit and give respect and credence to black men who are in the right position and are doing the right things. And no, you don't have to include or replace him with the woman just because. Like, what I didn't understand. Like, Karen Hunter, well, why didn't we get her? And her argument was like, you can't do this without a black woman. Like, so Ice Cube's doing, like, the Democrats been doing what the fuck they've been doing, ignoring black men all this time. He comes out as a black man saying, I'm gonna do this and I want to have this conversation. He brings his smart people with him that, for the things that he doesn't know. And then your first critique is, well, why did he do that without bringing a black woman? That's just the way to dismiss him. I get it. But I'm like, that was corny. How you gonna do that without Julian? She ain't the only black economist. Shit, I wouldn't have brought her. I would have brought, but he's seen now. Yeah. Yes. That was his name. Well, Thomas Sowell. Yeah, he kind of like Joe Biden a little bit right now. Him and Shelby still, these old dudes, hopefully they got some proteges to pass on the knowledge to, because I don't really want them speaking publicly and debating no more. They too old. But anyways, that's my video. I'm going to play this clip of Jason Whitlock, and he's, as much as we call him a coon or whatnot, he's 100% correct. And just for the people who be like, it's too much religion, it's too much that, like, those are excuses and cop-outs. Jason Whitlock is a person who identifies as a Christian who is combating another black man, Watts, who thinks he calls himself a Christian, saying you're doing too much female worship and you got to chill with that. And both successful, wealthy, black millionaire men. Neither one of them broken dusties. But that's just my video. I'm out.
I just think it's unsound. And I think that, and this will probably bother some people, but I'm just sorry, at the root of a lot of the problems and the dilemma we have in the black community is the matriarchal driven culture that we have. The absence of black men. The absence of black male authority, leadership, and again, that can be shared authority, leadership, whatever, but it's not shared right now. Because Ben Watson, I don't think would respect men, especially black men. How about just respecting people? And I don't have a lack of respect for Maria Taylor or any number of female journalists, broadcasters, whatever, but I'm critical of everybody because I'm a critic. I'm a critic of myself. Anybody that's watched my work and followed my career knows the same heat I give a LeBron James or a Katie Nolan or, in this case, Maria Taylor, I give to myself. And I don't do it based off, oh, this person's this gender, this person's this sexuality, this person's this color. I don't I don't do that. I judge all people, or I criticize or offer advice or mild criticism based on whether that person is acting in my belief in their best interest and respectful of a culture and values and ethics and integrity that I respect. And so I would just like to say to Ben Watson and to a lot of young men out there, and I'm going to say particularly black men because it's most acute in our community where there is an absence of black fathers, where there is an absence of black male leadership. We can talk about who's to blame, mass incarceration, drug war, blah. We can talk about all of that. But for today, we're just dealing with what the problem is. And a big part of the problem is the worship of women and putting them on some pedestal where they can't be questioned. And anything they say or do can't be probed, criticized, whatever. This is an issue, and this is pervasive. I'm going to get very personal here, and I want people to hear me in context. And if someone, my mother watches this, I certainly want her to hear it in context. But the black mother is put on a pedestal that I think is inappropriate, and it's caused friction between me and my mother, someone that I believe is one of the best human beings to ever walk the planet. Tremendous job raising me and my brother after her and my father divorced. My mother is, a saint, but she's part of this culture that where she believes she's the end-all be-all authority on everything. I completely reject that. I've rejected that for a long time, and it's caused friction between me and my mother. I'm primarily responsible for my mother in virtually every way. And I don't say this to brag or diminish her, but she's 80 years old, and for a good last 20, 25 years, I've been her primary provider. House, cars, furniture, allowance, all of it. She's not my leader. God is my leader, and then I'm my leader. And then I'll hear what she has to say. But I don't put her on some pedestal because she was my mother or she is my mother to where anything that comes out of her mouth is directly from God and can't be questioned. And love my mother to death, will take care of her for the rest of her life and the rest of mine. But I reject the notion that she is somehow my queen, and I know a lot of my friends treat their mother differently than I do because they're caught up in this culture of worship of women, and it's a mistake. It's why we have a culture that's been very feminized and is very emotional and lacks respect for authority, and just chooses emotion over logic. I'm not going to put that all on women, but there's a strategy that God had in mind, between a balance between man and woman, that is missing within our community. And that's why we're out of balance. And some people will listen to this and say, oh, Whitlock is, what a sexist pig he is. I'm not sexist. I'm just very honest. And when I look at what's going on within our culture and try to evaluate what's the problem, and the man has been eliminated, his leadership has been rejected, and been, and blame us, because many men have abandoned their kids. I get it. But Ben Watson hasn't abandoned his kids. And Ben Watson should know enough to understand that we're not going to fix things unless the black man is willing to stand up and be leaders within his community. And if he's not willing to say, to tell a black man or a black woman, it's no different. Anything I said to Maria Taylor is no different than what I said to LeBron James when he was out there clowning around at his son's AAU game. And I was like, hey, man, this is inappropriate. Let the kids have the spotlight. What you doing out here? That's not your role. Sit in the stands, enjoy the deal. Don't be front and center. Don't suck up all the spotlight. Don't be a publicity whore all the time. That's my opinion. I'm not sexist against black men. That's my opinion on what role we should play. I have a lot of those opinions. And so until we're willing to stand up and be leaders and be men and leaders within our community and quit worshiping women and going for the trap that's been placed in front of us of we're going to be eliminated from a leadership role and we're going to fall behind and Yas queen, Kamala, she's my queen, Yas queen, Cardi B, she's my queen, Yas queen, and just anything that comes out of a woman has been ordained by God, I'll never go for it. And any of you suckers out there that go for that, good luck with it. So that's what I wanted to say about Ben Watson. I wanted to say it hopefully respectfully. Ben, I think you should check yourself and ask yourself what kind of energy you're putting out there in the social media space. I've done nothing wrong. I'm not trying to be disrespectful for Maria Taylor, but I'm not going to pretend like she walks on water or anybody else. I don't walk on water, so why should she?